All right. Good morning, beautiful ladies. It is our seventh class today in our Rosh Chodesh Society Lift Your Life. So for all of you who've made it this far, congratulations. Today we finish our course for the year. It's bittersweet, but we're very happy that you're here, for those in person, for those on Zoom. Are we ready to start?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So before we dive right in, I wanted to, first of all, today's class is dedicated in memory of our beautiful Malka Bas Simcha. May her neshama have an aliyah. And we should hear only good news. And we will keep everyone posted on funeral details and all of that as they are arranged, which is being worked on right now. Yes, 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 yes. A lot of spunk, a really, really beautiful woman, fiery personality. Okay, so I want to start today's class by everybody just taking a minute. If you need a pen, there's pens right here, and we can pass them down. I want everyone to have a pen for today. I want you to take a minute, and if you want to, close your eyes, and I want you to think back to an earlier age in your life and picture your younger self. You can be your 15-year-old self, your 25-year-old self, your 32-year-old self, your 40-year-old self, your 60-year-old self, whatever it is, and you can pick a few versions of her. And I want you to think about what some of your hopes and dreams and aspirations were at that age. What did you dream of becoming? What are some character traits that you would want to have worked on? What are some goals you wanted to achieve? As you can today look back, what did you want to be back then? And you can jot them down if you want on the corner of a paper or something like that. Because we'll come back to this a little bit later. And then as you're finishing writing them down, and this is personal, you don't have to share it with anybody. I want you to come back to today, to the present, and how does your life compare today to those hopes and dreams that younger you had? I'm curious to hear how much of it panned out, how some of it didn't happen, how some of it you wish had happened, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want to share anything without any details, feel free on Zoom or in person. I'm asking, yeah, if anybody wants to share what was younger you's life goals, aspirations, and dreams, and how does it compare to today? Because I'm sure some of the things we have accomplished, some of the things for many different reasons couldn't be accomplished, and some of them have yet to be accomplished. And I'm curious I'm curious to hear from you. Go ahead, Hannah.
We couldn't travel anywhere. If this was a country, we couldn't go to America. So my main goal was if I become an interpreter, so maybe I would be able to go and see other countries abroad. In fact, this is what I've always dreaming about it. And also, yes, I used to close my eyes and say, oh my God, please, you can eat orange just as much as you want. Nobody calls you a Jew. A what?
A Jew. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Beautiful. Anyone else want to share? Go ahead, Michelle.
I think that the distinction between the age that I chose at 40 and the age that I am now, that the goals are still the same, but what I wrote down with my eyes closed was that I wanted to excel in those things, being the best wife, the best mother, the best teacher, the
Mhm.
best friend. Now I've just given up the excelling part, just the being. No, it's not important on the achieving.
Right. The maturity that comes with that. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So moving on, I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure, like Hannah said, there's some things we've accomplished. There's some things we wish we would have accomplished. Am I correct? Or is it just me? Okay. Um, and the good news is we have more time to do so. So that's why it's always good to have something that we're aspiring to. And so the month we're in now, if you notice, every class we've done had corresponded in Kabbalah to the month. And so the month we're in now is the month of Sivan. And this month is associated with the word halicha, which literally means to walk, which means to move forward. And so that is what today's class is going to be about. All right, so I have an exercise that we're going to launch today's class with. It's going to involve some moving around. Okay, so everyone has to have a pen. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of line up right over here. Everyone is going to pick their favorite color. They're going to write their name on it and hold it. Say you'll write Shayna, Lois, whatever it is, and hold it. And I am going to read you a list of priorities for the ladies on Zoom. And for the ladies leaving or watching later, because there are a whole bunch of you who are going to be watching later, grab a piece of paper and make believe your feet are at the top of the paper and graph what a step looks like, and you'll do it on a piece of paper. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a priority. And you have three options. You can either stay in one place, which means this is not an important priority to you, or you can take one step or two steps forward, depending how important that priority is to you. So one for it's important, and two is it's super important. I'm going to ask you to be honest because we all have different priorities. Okay. And then when we're done the exercise, you're going to put your piece of tape down on the floor and we'll see how far you are. And then we're going to do like a second exercise with it. Is everyone with me? Okay, I'm good. Basically, you're going to pick your favorite color. You're going to write your name. You're going to rip it off, hold it in your hands. I'm going to read a priority. Learning, traveling, politics, whatever it is. You're going to decide, is that important to me? If it's not important to you at all, you're not going to move. You're going to stay in one place. If it's important to you, you'll take one step forward. If it's super important to you, you'll take two steps forward. Does everybody understand? Okay. So why doesn't everybody, I have 7 colors. So bring your pen, come on over, pick your color, write your name. Yeah, well, and pink, and pass it around, write your name, rip it off, and hold it in your hands. And I'm gonna put it here, so hopefully whoever's like basically like here. I'm gonna do mine. Hold on, where's she here? It's gonna be yellow. And I wrote Shayna on it. And I'm gonna rip it off. And now you know who I am. Okay? And that way you'll have your name on it. Okay?
Please go ahead.
And come stand right over here.
Anybody want to pay?
Because I like baby colors. Shows in my closet just to check it out.
Yeah. No, we don't need the pen right now. I know we don't usually get up and move around, but this is like one of those exercises that it's good to picture. So, here, anybody need help? Sorry.
Who's going to pick up the stickers?
Oh, the painter's tape. So I made sure that they come off very easily. I made sure the painter's tape. Yeah. All right, ladies, come on over. So we may have to so we can just it'll be a little bit smaller step. All right, are we ready? Come on over. Watch where your starting point is so you know where, because we're going to go back to our starting point. Yeah, we can start row number 2. Right. You'll come right in.
I know, I had,
All right, so from and from. No, but you'll know where you started and where you end. It's not okay. All right. As long as you have your initials and you know who you are. Here, come stand near Hannah. Barbara, come over here because I think that come right here. And all right, Sheila will let you join. All right. So remember, if it's not important to you, stay where you are. If it's somewhat important to you, 1 step forward. If it's very important, 2 steps forward. No one's judging you. Hold it until the end. We have like 7 or 8 of them. Okay. All right. Is exercise important to you? Exercise is very important to her. All right. Is prayer important to you? Your way. What was the word? Oh. Okay. Is volunteering important to you?
1, 2.
Yeah, be honest.
Sure.
Okay. Is tone study important to you? You need a priority of yours. Is career advancement important to you? Is travel important to you? Are friends important to you? Is family important to you? All right, we have a lot of very passionate women here. All right, is caring for the environment important to you? Remember, 0, 1, 2. Is rescuing animals important to you?
You want this to
Is giving charity important? Is spending time in nature important?
Is this too loud for you?
Or elderly? And last one, is politics important to you? All right, wherever you are, put down your sticker. And if you need help, ask someone who it's easier to bend down. All right, now everyone grab 1 more piece of tape, a different color, write your name on it, and come back. Now comes the moment of truth. All right, write your name on a piece. Did anyone do white? Let's do white, and someone just write everyone's name on it.
You can do that. Where's the vote?
And we just pick a color you haven't chosen.
Just to save time, does anybody care? And I'll just, oh, okay, let's just tear off a whole bunch of words. Okay.
Yeah. So we don't mix up like scenario A, scenario B.
But I have blue.
Any color, just a different color, come line up in the exact same space that you want. I can try that. Fine. Fine. Don't worry. The clock, table clock. Your initials if that's easier. Just pick a different color. And come back to your original style. Now here's what I'm going to ask you, okay? We know what is important to you. And we know what your priorities are. And you ladies have a lot of beautiful priorities. Now here's my question. Are these priorities something you do on a regular basis? And when I say regular, if exercise is important to you and you have not exercised in the last 7 to 10 days, I'm sorry, that's a 0 step. If volunteering is important and you have not volunteered for the last 2 weeks, I'm so sorry, but that's not a step. If spending time with friends or family is important, but you have not done so, you have okay. So now you're going to be really honest. Nobody's looking, nobody's judging. And you're going to do the same things because a lot of you took 2 steps for lots of things. Now we're going to come with me? All right. That's 7, 10 days. You said beautiful, beautiful exterior. Oh, thank you. Okay. Exercise is very important. I will allow this. But if you take it a week or 2, you get classes. Okay, that's why I'm laughing. Okay, exercise is very important to me. I have not done it in months. So, you know, yes. Yes, go ahead. Okay, all of that. You're always always gather your stuff, okay? So you get my drift. All right, exercise. Remember, only if you really do it. Basically, we did what your priorities are. Now we're going to see how they actually go in real life. So for example, let's just say you took 2 steps for rescuing animals. Okay, but let's just say, I'm giving you an example, okay? Okay, no, we're not going backwards, you're just not going to take a step forward. And you have not done any work in this arena in a while, you don't get to take any steps forward. If you love spending time in nature, but you've been holed up on a couch for a while, okay, exercise, okay, prayer. Remember, be honest. Sorry. All right, volunteering. Color study. Number 0, 1, or 2. Career advancements. Travel. Friends. Very social group here. Now family. Family. Caring for the environment. That could be one of the ways is recycling. Yeah. All right. Rescuing animals. All right, giving charity. Rescuing animals. All right, we got 3 more. Spending time in nature. Visiting the sick or elderly. And last one is politics. Put down your sticker.
And some soy sauce.
All right, and now I have a question. Is anybody's sticker a little further behind or is it on the same level as their first sticker? All right, everybody have a seat. Are most people behind or are most people on par? All right, have a seat. No, leave them there. Leave them there. All right, ladies, just so you know, we did our exercise and our aspirations and our reality, let's just say, did not perfectly line up. Okay, but you have to have a visual. Watch your step as you sit down.
Brandon Spanish.
All right, Lois can help you get further.
There's no other volunteer.
Right, no, we're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. Yeah. All right.
I want to put my earbuds in, but I didn't.
All right. Is everybody settled back down? Everyone took a deep
I want
breath.
to put
We're
the
good.
earbuds in,
Okay.
but I left them upstairs. No,
I know she did right there. Esther. She does Pilates or yoga? Yoga.
And breathing. Yoga, so it's nothing yoga.
It's her blend, but I'm sure it sounds wonderful.
For many years, it used to be called Korean yoga.
Oh.
But it's stretching, it's a little breathing exercise.
Sounds wonderful. Okay. All right. So here's my question to you. What seems to happen when we make resolutions? How come sometimes there's a divide between what I feel my priorities are, what I want to do, and what actually happens in reality? Anybody want to care to guess? We're human, says Michelle. Very wise. All right. So we've spent the last few months, several months, not just few months, several months discussing and learning about very important things. Learned about sleeping, about eating, about faith, about joy, about anger, etc., etc. And we know that at our core, we want to grow and change. We get inspired to make changes, but then sometimes that moment of inspiration hits us. It's very nice. It feels great. And then, life moves on and the moment fades, right? That's the way we are. We're human. We're imperfect. Like Michelle said, we're human. And it's actually good that our bar is set higher than we are right now, because that means we have somewhere to go. If everyone was doing everything they wanted to do, it'd be kind of boring. And we wouldn't have where to grow to. So it means that we have something to work to. So when we talk today about halicha, which is moving forward, it's a very interesting thing. So we know that there have been many prophets in our Jewish history, right? and many of them had prophecies, and many of them wrote about what they saw when they were having their prophecies, and they described angels. And they all described angels as having one foot. Yes. And interestingly, thank you, Shab. Yep, exactly. The reason that we stand with our two legs, you ever notice when we do the Amida, the standing prayer, we put our legs together? The reason we do that is to mimic the angels. Angels only have one leg versus human beings have two, because angels are born, I'm not going to say like a robot, but angels are here, God creates them to do a certain job. And so they're not moving up. That's not what their role is. They are here to do a job. God creates them for that job. So they don't have to walk because they're not going forward. And so that is why angels have one leg. And we, as people, are always meant to be moving forward. And so that is why we have two legs. Now, of course, our steps in life always look different. Sometimes in life, we're taking baby steps. And sometimes in life, we're taking giant leaps. And sometimes, for whatever reasons, we have to coast for a little while. Or even like, someone says, I went on a retreat. What does a retreat mean? Like really, when you say retreats, what does a retreat mean? You ever thought about that? We think vacation, but what does retreat mean? It means to take a step back. Because sometimes we have to take a step back in order to take a much larger step forward. And we know Judaism has, and life has those things built in. We have sleep every night. We have the concept of Shabbat every week. The concept of rest is built into our lives. But the reality is, as human beings, the healthy thing is to keep moving forward. We're not meant to be coasting. That is not meant to be the status quo. It may happen sometimes, of course, different life circumstances happen, but in general, our goal is always to be moving forward, climbing the ladder, however you want to say it. Go ahead.
Before I forget, there is like a convention for women in August. Can you register? Like 5 days.
Are you talking about the JLI conference?
I don't know if it's
Didn't come from me. That's why I'm asking.
There was like what when I wasn't around that they announced. It's right here.
In the Doral or the
yeah, there were lectures and there was
JLI makes an annual conference every year. They do it somewhere different.
Is this for you or
I don't think so, but if you're mine, I'll get you the information. Yeah, because I saw it also. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I don't remember. I can look it up and let you know. All right, ladies, I'm going to lower it 1 degree. Is that okay? Sorry, very pregnant lady here.
It's water, yeah. It's water.
Well, to be honest, I run hot even on good days. So imagine now. My house is set on 70 basically these days. All right, where were we? All right. So as human beings, our job is to be moving forward, to halicha, to always move forward. But as we know, growth is not easy. And change is extremely, extremely hard. And so then we have to ask ourselves, and this is always a question that comes up throughout our lives, is what is our capacity for growth? Do I have the ability to choose differently? And am I the victim of my circumstances, right? Because a lot of times we feel like we are the victim of our circumstances, or if God knows what I'm going to do, then do I really have free choice? Right? We've all heard of those questions before. And so the Torah has strong opinions on that, of course. And so we're going to go to text number 1, which is on page 110 in our book. 110. And I'm going to read it out loud. So that way everybody in Zoom and in person can hear. Oh, these telemarketers, I tell you, all day. Okay. In Genesis, God said, God created the human being in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. So this is a very important reminder of your worth and your dignity and everything, because we as human, we are created in God's image. And to focus on that a little bit deeper, let's go to text number 2, which is also on page 110. And we read here, the human being
I'm taking a
created.
class.
All right, ladies, if you can, put yourself on mute. If you can, if not, no worries. The human being was created in God's image and thereby is similar to God. May he be blessed. The human being created in the image of God has the distinctive characteristic of being autonomous like God, who is free to do as he wishes. So too, we human beings have the power to do as we wish. We have choice. And so God chose to create this world, and then he chose to make us like him, creators. We have freedom of choice and we have freedom of action, which, by the way, was a big gamble for God, right? Because, we're not such perfect people. And when you have freedom of choice, lots of things can happen. Now, we know there's a lot we don't get to choose. We don't get to choose the family we're born into. We don't get to choose the bodies that we're born into in terms of health and things like that and what happens. We don't get to choose our character traits because we know we each are born with different character traits that are inherent to us. We don't get to choose if our skill level. Some people are just naturally more skilled at things than others. There's a lot of things we don't get to choose. However, we are still the choosers in our lives, and we are responsible for our decisions. And we also know I can't always choose what happens to me, but I can choose how I respond to whatever comes my way. And God calls us to tap into that power to choose. And so let's go to text number 3, which is on page 111. And God says, I call today upon the heavens and earth as witnesses that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, which, as we know, is not always a very easy thing to choose. Sometimes it's easier, and sometimes it feels very, very hard. And sometimes it feels like you're hanging off the edge of that mountain and your nails are just in the wall and you're like, and you're about to fall. And yet every day we get up in the morning and we get to choose again. And God says, I want you to choose life. I want you to be a chooser. And if we go to text number 4, if God were to preordain that a person be righteous or wicked, or if there were to exist something innate in a person's nature that compelled him or her toward a specific path, conviction, trait, or deed, how could God command us through the prophets to do this and not to do this, to improve our behavior or not to follow our wicked inclination? After all, from the very beginning, a certain outcome was preordained by God or dictated by the person's nature. Moreover, of what use would be the entire Torah? And by what measure of justice could God punish the wicked and reward the righteous? It's a good question, right? If God were to preordain, then what would be the point? And so what is God telling us? I created you in my image. You are a flaming soul of power. And you have the ability to choose good. Now, again, we all have different personality traits that challenge us in different ways. But at the end of the day, we have the ability to choose. I can choose to overcome certain things. I can choose to go against my nature. And someone say, well, I had a hard childhood, so I steal or I do this. No, that's not an excuse, because you have the power to go above that. And so you have control over your life, and we have control over how we respond to circumstances. And a lot of times we deny this, right? We say, no, I have no control. God caused this and this to happen, and it's not my fault how I react. Or I can say, well, it's not my fault. I lost my job and A, B, and C happened. Or my mother was very difficult to me when I was growing up. Or my boss was horrible and this happened. Or my spouse did this and this. And you fill in the blanks, right? It's very easy. And we all fall into this trap sometimes where we can blame circumstances or others for what happens to us in life. But at the end of the day, we know that we are the choosers in our destiny. And so since we always have problems with the speakers because no one can hear it online, I actually posted in the WhatsApp group the video that I want to show you now. I'll show it on my phone, and you're welcome to look at it on your phone and also watch it later. It's a beautiful clip by is it Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Sachs? Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Sachs. So hold on one second. Lord.
We have no choice. And of course, he was right, because Judaism is predicated on freedom. The truth is that in the ancient world, the polytheistic world, gods were part of nature, and therefore they were subject to the laws of nature. Along comes Judaism, and for the first time discovers a transcendent God who stands outside the universe, who is free, create or not to create. And when he makes humanity in our image, he bestows on us that gift of freedom. It cost God a great deal to give us freedom. If we didn't have it, we could never rebel against him. We could never sin. We could never threaten the future of the world he created. But so precious is freedom that God gave it to us. How do we know that we have freedom? And the answer lies in a single concept called tshuva in Judaism, repentance. And here it is. You find yourself in a certain situation, and for some reason, temptation, weakness, fear, who knows what, you do something wrong. Comes Yom Kippur, you feel bad about it, you do tshuva, you say, forgive me, God, I recognize I made a mistake. Then, some later time in your life, you find yourself in exactly the same situation, and this time you don't make that mistake. That proves that you have changed. That proves that it was not a combination of environment and genetics that determined your action. Your action was determined by your choice. The first time you chose one way, the second time you chose another way. That means we are free. Many people have tried to deny freedom because it's a scary thing. Some people held that our fate was in the stars. Marx said our fate is in the economic system. Freud said our fate is in the hands of primal, repressed, unconscious drives. Darwin said it's all in genetics. None of that explains the fact that actually we can change our way of life, whatever our economic status, whatever our unconscious drives, whatever our genetically coded instincts. The truth is, we are free. Moshe Singer was right. We have no choice but to be free.
Okay, so I thought that was a beautiful clip, and you have it to watch it later as well. Please.
My brother
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, in all of these evil empires
Right.
that went against the Jews, because that concept is a threat to their inability to stay in power, because in all of they find the Muslims go against what the administration has told them they must be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's lots of laws. Who's first? Thinking. I'll leave it for people.
True. Yeah, I said there's lots and lots of theories. There's a lot of reasons, a lot and none, because at the end of the day, it's one of those things that can't be explained. We just, yeah. So before we move on to the next part of the lesson, I want you to kind of take a deep breath in and remind yourself, and it's something we all have to remind ourselves because sometimes it feels very daunting, is I am not a victim of circumstance. I am the chooser. Which again is not always easy to stomach.
Mom, do you see Brandon? No.
I am not a victim of, hold on one second. I am not a victim of circumstance. I am a chooser. All right, so let's move on to the next step of the lesson. Now that any questions so far? Go ahead.
I think about the choices. I think in our head is like a computer. We have a problem. Our head's always thinking, how do we resolve this problem before? So we have certain things, okay? Then we try, maybe it works out, so we may try something different.
Mm-hmm.
But for people who don't, they can't do what's comfortable, taking it easy way. Sometimes making a choice is harder.
Of course it is.
So when you've got to make a choice, if you don't have something other than what is already here,
Mm-hmm.
it is hard to make another choice.
It is very, very hard.
To what you always did, and the point is, right? It's almost like you have to change the tape.
All right, so let's talk about that. That was a very good segue into this. All right, so let's move on to the next stage of our conversation. And we've had these questions before, and feel free to shout out any answers here. Why are we here in this world? To serve God, okay. And what is life about? To do good, to serve God, anybody. What is this life about? Anybody have anything they want to share besides what was shared so far? Okay, making a better world. So really, we are here to choose good and to do good and to choose life. And more than that, we're here to stretch and we're here to grow. And when we talk about growth, there's a few ways to look about it. And one of the ways that you can stretch and you can grow is changing a specific behavior, which kind of feels like almost changing who we are. So we're going to jump around a little bit. I apologize in advance. You're going to turn to page 121 to figure 7.1. And some of you may recognize what we're looking at here. For those who've been here for a few years, this was one thing that we covered like in depth in the Code to Joy series. And for those who come to our Torah and Tea class, I think we actually did this like 3 weeks ago. We just went through it very, very quickly. So obviously this is, we're not going to go through it in depth because that's beyond the scope of this lesson. But what you're looking at here are in our Kabbalistic attribute, and known as in Kabbalah, that is known in Kabbalah as the 10 attributes. And these attributes in Hebrew is called kochot, are the way that God interacts with the world. And you'll notice there's 10 of them. The first 3 are what's called the intellectual kochot, and the last 7 are the emotional kochot, the emotional attribute. And I'm going to go through them quickly. The first 3 are intellectual, and we're gonna come back to it in a little bit later in this class. And the final 7 are emotional. And so of those emotional ones, the first one is chesed, which stands for kindness. The second one is gevura, which says here severity, but also, and you can write this down, also means discipline. The third one is called tiferet, which is compassion, but it also means balance. The gevura. Strength, yeah, it's no severity and discipline, also strength. That also those are all similar words. Yes. Then we have tiferet, which is compassion, and also another word for that would be balance. Then we have netzach, which means victory, but it also means grit. Then we have hod, which means splendor, but it also means humility. Then we have yesod, which means foundation, but foundation also means connection. And the last one is called malchut, which means royalty, but it also means expression.
What is that again?
Well, we're going to get there. Well, those are the intellectual ones, and we're going to come back to those. We're focusing on the emotional ones now. And we, as human beings, because we are created in God's image, we also go through life interacting with the world through these attributes. And generally, we don't just use one. We'll use 1 or 2 or 1 or 2 or 3 in combination with each other. And interestingly, and we also know that some of them are more natural to us because we all have our innate personalities. So some of us might feel that we're just more of a kind person. Some people might be more of a disciplined person. Some people might be more of someone who has a lot of grit. And some people might be more of a creative and they're like with royalty and expression. Everybody has 1 or 2 that resonate more with them. But all of these and in combination with each other is how we interact with the world. And interestingly, for those who, we just finished the holiday of Shavuot, which was the connection to the holiday of Passover. We know we left Egypt, and 49 days later, we got the Torah at Mount Sinai. And we do this very interesting thing where we count the Omer. We count 49 days from when we left Egypt until we get the Torah. It's like we're excited, we're receiving a gift. And so we count. And one of the things that we do is when we count, we actually go through all of these attributes. And so there's 49 days, 49 divided by 7. We have 7 complete weeks. And so each week is another leading emotion, kindness, discipline, etc. And then every day of the week, we pair up kindness with severity, kindness with this, kindness with that, kindness with that. And we actually focus each day on refining another part of our personality. And the hope is that by the time we get to Shavuot, we've really worked on refining our character. And it's actually beautiful. We talk about this in our class. They have these really cool apps where you'll get like a notification on your phone every day of like one area that you can work in. It's very sweet.
Yeah, there's a book.
Yeah, there's a book as well. Exactly. Yeah. All right. I don't know offhand, but there also is an app. You can do it through Chabad.org, I think. Oh, Simon Jacobson wrote that? It's a small book, yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. All right. Mhm. And it's very interesting. If you enjoy like a short snippet of the day, it's a very interesting thing to follow. All right. So let's give an example. We know that kindness, everyone can agree, kindness is a great attribute, right? To be a kind person, A plus,
Right.
right? But is there a downside to kindness? Anybody want to help me out? What's a downside to kindness? Exactly. If you are a giver and you give,
Mm-hmm.
what happens if you have an addict coming to you saying, I need this, I need my alcohol, I need my drugs, and I'm a giver, and you give, that's not good. That person needs boundaries. We all have met adults whose parents were very giving and didn't set any boundaries to them when they were growing up, and we see what happens to those children, right?
Right.
Giving is great, but if there's no boundaries, there's a problem. The same is true of severity. It's great to be disciplined, but if we can't be flexible and infuse kindness with it, no one wants to be around you. And also, you live a very difficult life because that's a very hard way to live. They don't know how to live life because they think everything is going to be given to them. And then they hit the real world and they try to get a job and they don't show up on time. And like, what do you mean? It's fine. What do you mean I can't have the latest car and the latest gadget and the latest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I said, we all have, I said, I'm in the kid stage in my life and it's very in right now. Don't get me started on why, because it's such a ridiculous thing is everyone's busy with these dumplings and these Neatos. I won't even explain. They're squishies. They're like sensory squishies. And they keep changing because, that's how the market works. So we finally found the dumplings, and then now dumplings are on the way out, and the next thing's on the way in. It's not fair. All the other parents buy their kids all of this. I said, I'm sure it's not all the other parents. And also, that's not a good way to live. I don't want you getting everything you want every time you want it. I have a few. I made a little store in my closet. I said, you want it? Here's a chart. Here's what you got to do to earn it. Yesterday, one of my daughters earned it, and she woke up in the morning after earning it for doing a few things. And let me tell you, it's a very special moment because we have to set boundaries. You want something special, either it's a no or it's an earn or whatever it is, because that is the healthy way to set boundaries and teach children about life. Anyways, so let's look in the Torah at an example of such a situation that happened. So we know that our forefather Abraham was known as Ish Chesed, which means a man of kindness. He was kindness personified. He was the one who spread to the world that there's a God, monotheism, etc., etc. He also had a tent that was open on all four sides. Everybody is welcome in my home. Everybody is welcome to eat. He was a very, very, very kind person. But Abraham was also put through a lot of tests throughout his life. And we see that when his wife Sarah wanted to send their son, wanted to send Hagar and Avram's son Yishmael, the way Yishmael was not a good person. He was a terrible influence on Yitzchak. And he also was not a good person in general. And Sarah said, this is not a healthy thing to have in our home while we're raising what will be our future. We're raising our only heir who's going to carry on our mission. We have to go. We have to send him away. And for a person who personified kindness, that was the absolute opposite of what Abraham was. And what did God say to him? One of my favorite lines. Listen to your wife. Okay? Okay? That is what God said. Shema b'kola, listen to her voice. She is correct. And Abraham had to go against his nature and send Yishmael and his mother away. And what do we learn? Later on, Yishmael does learn right from wrong, and eventually he does return home. And we see that later on in the story as we're learning it. But that was very difficult for Abraham. And then what happened next? The ultimate test. At 100 years old, he finally gets his son, right? He's been right. You're building a whole empire. Finally, he gets his heir. He gets his son. And 37 years later, what does God say? Sacrifice him. Now, two things are an issue here. Number one, Abraham's been spending his whole life teaching the opposite of this. There's one God. We don't believe in human sacrifices, which were prevalent at that time. So that number one went against the total nature of him. And number two, he finally got his son. He finally got the heir to his throne, so to say. And God says, go sacrifice him. And what does Abraham say? Okay. And we know what happens. They travel. And as he's about to sacrifice Yitzchak, a voice comes out and says, stop. And, and what does God say to him? Now I know. Now I know that you really are following me. Excuse me? After all of these years, Abraham gave up his life in his comfortable place. He had to schlep away because the king wanted to kill him. He was locked and put in the fire and everything else. And what does God say? Now I know. Why? Because before it could be said, Abraham was a very kind person. It was in his nature. So it was in his nature to spread the word of God. It was in his nature to do that. But now he went against his nature, the total 180. And God says, now I know. And so that is a very good example also in the story of the Torah. And so let me just make sure. Oh, okay. He basically said, now I know you're God-fearing because you went against it. And so when we are asked to stretch, it's not just to operate in our comfort level, which could be easier than operating outside our comfort level, but it's to push beyond that. And so it's very important that as we're going through life, we have to ask myself, what am I operating out of? Which mode? Am I operating out of my comfort? Or am I stretching myself a little bit? And so we're going to go back a little. We're going to go to text number 7A, which is on page 116. Is everyone 116? Is everyone with me so far? Ladies in person and online, yes? All right. And we see here, you will once again discern between the righteous and the wicked, between one who serves God and one who does not serve him. So it seems a bit like a repetitive thing because you'll discern between the righteous and the wicked. And then it says between one who serves God and one who doesn't serve God. So isn't the righteous one who serves God? Like, doesn't it seem like it's like a double situation there? And then if we look at text 7b, yeah, we're on page 117. Just flip over the page. Bar Hey asked Hillel, is not a righteous person the same as one who serves God, and a wicked person the same as one who does not serve him? Hillel replied, one who serves and one who does not serve both refer to completely righteous individuals. However, a person who reviews their study 100 times, one who does not serve, cannot be compared to one who reviews their studies 101 times, one who serves. Right? Hey asked, how one who does not serve is called so merely because of a difference of one time? To which Hillel replied, go and take a lesson from the marketplace of wagon drivers. For the distance of 10 parsanj, which are Persian miles, they charge 1 zuz, whereas for 11 parsanj, they charge 2 zuz. So in those days, there were no computers. There was no recorders. They didn't even have the printing press yet. Everything was written down or memorized. And so the standard at that time, when learning something new, was to review it 100 times, which to us sounds crazy because that just sounds like way overkill. But that is how they learned at that time. And someone who went above and beyond was someone who did it 101 times, which you're like, it's one more time. But he says, no, it's not like that because go to the marketplace and you'll see how the wagon drivers work. For a drop of an extra distance, you're paying double. And so what does this mean? Text number 7c. In those days, it was customary to review each lesson 100 times. The Talmud illustrates this with the analogy of the donkey drivers. The drivers would charge 1 zuz for 10 Persian miles, but demanded 2 zuz for driving 11 parsanj, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, because it exceeded their customary practice. Therefore, the 101st review, which was beyond the normal practice to which the student had been accustomed since childhood, was equivalent to the previous 100 reviews combined. In fact, this surpassed them by far to the extent that the student was subsequently called one who serves God. So what are we saying here? We're saying here is we're all used to what we're used to. The minute I have to go a drop beyond my comfort zone, and you can use this in any area of your life. Let's say you are used to running 3 miles a day. You're really fit and you walk 3 miles a day or you run 3 miles a day. The day that you choose to run 3.5 miles is going to hurt. Even though you're like, well, you just did like 6 times that. What's the big deal? The minute one goes above their comfort level and begins to stretch, it gets harder. And so the student who did 101 times was like known as a very righteous person because they were going beyond their comfort zone. And the proof was if you go to the market and you want to buy a trip The minute the donkey had to go beyond their usual way, you pay double. And so how do you know if you're serving God? By the effort that you're putting in. You might be coasting. You might be doing all the right things. But if you're not growing, you're not serving God with the proper way that he wants us to serve him. It's not just the quantity of deeds, it's actually the effort that we put in. And that really is the core of human purpose, because we're not just put here in this world to coast. We're put here in this world to put effort in, to grow and to stretch. And so when we work to change ourselves on the inside, that is what's not natural for us. So when we think 100 versus 101, it's one more time, big deal. But 100 was the norm. And so anything, even one drop beyond that, is a stretch. And so I'm going to go on the assumption that we're all well-meaning, beautiful, hardworking people here, right? I'm going to go on that assumption. And we have so many things that are important to us. And as we just saw in our exercise over here, and anyone can go back afterwards and check out their 2 little stickers, we saw that what our priorities are and how we in reality get there, there's usually a space, right? And so the first thought is, it's human nature. Like Michelle said, we're human, we're imperfect. Our life is a constant growth, and we have aspirations, but we don't always get there. And change is very, very difficult. Habits are very, very, very hard to break. And also new habits are very, very hard to create, as we well know. A second. And so a few thoughts or suggestions before we head into the next part of our class is some suggestions for how to help ourselves with habits. There's a few tricks. First of all, you have to make it attractive. I'm going to use exercise and like junk food because they're just very easy examples, but you're very smart ladies. You can fill in the blanks with anything else that you want. Let's say you really want to exercise, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. And so what you can do is pick the sneakers that you've been eyeing or the gym outfit. I don't know. Everyone has their little thing they've been eyeing. Buy them and put them near your bed in the morning. Okay. And then make yourself a killer playlist and map your route out. And I've actually met people who like walk around the whole day in their gym clothes and they're like, well, this is the only way I'm going to get to the gym. Like if I'm already dressed, I'm like, I've done half the hurdle. And she's like, I'm going to stay in this all day until I go to the gym. I'm like, kudos to you. But basically find a way to make it attractive. Buy the thing that you want. And also promise yourself something really good at the end. Okay, like I told my kids, you want the slime or whatever stuff that it is, you're going to have to do A, B, and C. And so there's a goal. I'm going to get there. So it makes you want to do it. And then the opposite is true. If I'm trying to avoid junk food, like I know I love Diet Coke. It's like something that I love. I love Diet Coke.
The worst thing you could drink.
I know, Lynn. I know. Okay, I know. No. Diet Coke, not Diet Pepsi, not cherry, nothing. Diet Coke.
Does your baby
I'm sorry?
Does your baby like it?
No, it's just I like the taste better. Okay, I like the taste of Diet Coke. This is one of my vices. I love Diet Coke. And so I love my mom and my dad also love Diet Coke. And so when they come visit, now they're off, they're now doing Diet Snapple, but whatever. In the days that they were doing Diet Coke, when they would come visit, I would buy a case of Diet Coke. And then what would happen? They would drink half the case and then the other half would stay in my house. And guess what would happen? I would drink the Diet Coke, okay? And so I've learned that if I don't want to drink it, and if you don't want the cookies or the chips, and you come in and you've had a hard day, guess what? Don't buy it. Because if it's in your house, you will eat it. So if there is something that you're trying to avoid, don't bring it in the house or don't, whatever it is, okay? So that's like just something else. If I'm trying to break a habit, do what I need to do to make sure that it doesn't eye me all the time when I'm stressed out. And we learned here that small habits, we know this already, small habits make big change. And then there's also something called habit stacking. Anybody ever heard of such a thing? Of habit stacking?
No.
Okay. So let's say, for example, every day you brush your teeth. Okay, hopefully every day you brush your teeth. And let's say you're trying to squeeze in 3 minutes of exercise every day for whatever reason. Okay? While you're brushing your teeth, you can also march in place. And you can also do squats. And you kind of build it into, I'm already brushing my teeth, let me do something else with it. That's just one example. Or if I'm already doing laundry, I can listen to the class that I wanted to listen to while I do it. I'll just put my headphones on. Or if I want to say Shema every night, or if I want to, whatever, I'll just make sure that I have a nice thing printed and it sits near my bed. Or if I want to start taking my vitamins every day, which I've been pushing off, I'm going to make sure that I have a water bottle and a nice little pretty dish for my vitamins near my bed so that I remember every night. And so those are things that we already have a habit, and we're just kind of stacking another habit onto that one. It's just an interesting idea. Basically, we want to focus on creating a system, not a goal. And one other thing that I read and I thought it was very interesting is be the kind of person that you want to be. Let's say you want to be a fit person. That's very important to you. And you have an appointment that day, and the appointment's on the 5th floor. And so you say, what would a fit person do? Would they take the elevator or would they take the stairs? And the answer is a fit person would take the stairs. So I'm a fit person. So I'm going to take the stairs. Or let's say I want to be a better grandmother or a better whatever it is. What would a good grandmother do? Would you do A, B, and C? Okay, then that is what I want to be. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to do the steps that it would take to be such a person. So it's just like a different mindset that you can do. Yes, 100%. And the opposite is true when we beat ourselves up. Self-fulfilling? Yeah. All right. So let's go back to that chart, which was on page 121, which was figure 7.1. All right, so we looked at the bottom 7, but now we're going to go back and we're going to look at the top 3. And those are called the intellectual attributes. And now our question is, how are our ideas, how are identities, how are our opinions formed? And they are formed through these kochot, through these attributes of chachma, bina, and das. And interestingly, if you look at the first letter of chachma, bina, and das, you get to the word Chabad. Because that is really the cornerstone of what Chabad is based on. We use our intellect to learn and to gain. That is what, like, the cornerstone of what Chabad is all about. So now you know where the name came from. It's an acronym. Mm-hmm. We can have Chachma. Well, Chachma is wisdom, yes. All right. And so what are the stages of Chachma, Bina, and Das? The first one is called Chachma, and that is wisdom. You ever have like an idea and like you just kind of get like a lightning bolt or like a flash, right? You ever get that? And so that's what it is. It's that flash. It's raw. It's not developed yet. That is Chachma. Bina is understanding. That's when we start developing the idea. We have that great idea. Now we start putting our details into I think of it like a box, right? The box appeared, the star appeared, and now I start filling in the box with Bina. And then we bring it to Dot. Dot is knowledge. And that's when we make the idea our own. And so Dot is the bridge between our head, our intellect, and our heart, our emotions. Dot is how we get from point A to point B. It's kind of like that bridge. And we know what is a good driver to our emotions. The good ones would be passion and excitement, because when I have passion and excitement to something, guess what? That leads me to do something. It leads me to action. And so in life, we know that so much of what we do or what we know comes from someone else's opinions or ideas, right? And we know, especially in today's world, the world is always trying to ram down our throats so many ideas. And the world wants to tell us this is what your priority should be. This is what's good. This is what makes you a good person, right? We live especially today with technology, it's like coming from literally every direction. And so we have to remember that there's lots of good ideas out there and lots of beautiful priorities out there. And as we saw in our exercise, everything I said was a nice priority. But some of us feel them more than others because we all have our own set of priorities that are within us. And so what is maturing? Maturing is that I'm able to weed through all that noise, all the good ideas and all the values out there, and I'm able to find the priorities that resonate with me. And when I get the priorities that resonate with me and I truly believe in, not because someone else wanted me to believe it, that is called maturity. That's called being a grown-up. We know lots of grown-ups who aren't so grown up, right? Because if we spend a whole day chasing after what someone else thinks is important, we haven't gotten there yet. And so we know that in childhood, we're introduced to a lot of good ideas. Okay. And as we grow up, we take some of them and we make that part of the fiber of our being. Think about how we raise children, right? We teach them skills, we teach them what our priorities are, and we hope that they will carry them on. But as anyone who has adult children know, is that not all of our priorities are passed down to our children because they don't feel that some of them are important, or they have also added different priorities that we don't feel are important, because that is part of growing up. But in childhood, we try to teach our children and give them the boundaries of things that we feel are important. For example, I try to teach my kids it's important to eat healthy. Fruits and vegetables are important. It hasn't really sunk in yet. It's a work in progress. However, I know that one day they won't do it because mommy said to. They'll hopefully do it because they know it is correct.
Mhm.
That's what we hope for. And so as we grow up and we go through all these opinions and values, we have to ask ourselves, are they mine? Because until an idea is mine, guess where it stays? It lives here. And how do you feel that something is important? It moves here. It moves to my heart. Because if I feel that something is very important, guess what? I'm going to do it, even if I don't want to, and even if I have to step out of my comfort zone. It's important. I always have my kids go, "You're so lucky. You get to do whatever you want." I said, "Really now?"
Really?
I said, "You think I wanted to make dinner tonight?" "Well, you didn't have to." I said, "No, but I had to because you're my kids and I have to make sure you're fed." "You think I want that's right. That's how kids live. But that's right. And that's part of it. If I know it's important, even though I don't want to make dinner every night, it's really annoying to think of dinner every single night. But guess what? It's important. So we step out of our comfort zone and we do it anyway. And so if we turn to page 122, text number 8. Intellect and emotion are dissimilar substances. Intellect is characterized by negation of self and negation of feelings of ego, and by connection to the idea one is studying. Emotions, on the other hand, are characterized by self-awareness and self-interest. So we know that intellect is detached. I can know a lot of things, and I know them, but it's not a personal thing. Emotions, though, are very, very personal. And that's why we see sometimes people see a clip and it immediately pulls at their heartstrings and they immediately jump to a conclusion. And even though the logic is there, it's done, right? We've seen that, especially now with social media, what's going on and everything like that. So the question is, how do I transfer the good ideas from here to make it real? I mean, how do I make my priorities that I know logically in my head are correct? How do I make it that I feel the importance and the urgency of it so I can incorporate it into my life? Is everyone with me? All right. And in Kabbalah, this is the neck. Our head and our heart, our intellect and our emotions, sometimes things can get stuck in this narrow thing called a neck, because a neck is the narrowest part of our torso, right? If we're going from here to here, this is the narrowest part of our torso. And this passageway represents the process where we have to transform thoughts into feelings. And narrowness in Hebrew is called meitzar. Does anybody have another word they've ever heard of that sounds similar to meitzar? Mitzrayim, exactly. Egypt is called Mitzrayim. And we, the Jews, got stuck in Mitzrayim. And so things can get stuck in our neck. And so if we turn to text 5 on page 122, the neck, the narrowest part of the human body, is metaphorically associated with the land of Egypt. When the intellectual powers descend from the head to the torso, they widen and influence the entire breadth of the body. In the interim, however, the intellect must pass through the neck, where the passageway is extremely narrow. How can the intellectual powers gather in a place as narrow as the neck? Thus, at times, the intellectual powers remain wedged there. This is the mystical equivalent of Egypt. And so that narrowness, that Egypt is a very tricky place. And a lot of times things can get stuck there. Just like in life, we get stuck. We all know this. We saw the difference and we know this. And so sometimes we get stuck. And just like when we did in the beginning, we look back at our younger self, our 15-year-old self, our 30-year-old self, our 40, 50, and we had different goals or aspirations that maybe changed, but also things we never got to. Things got stuck. Life changed, whatever. There's a million reasons why they may not have happened. And somewhere along the way, we got stuck and we lose that passion, we lose that excitement, and we kind of need to be freed from our Egypt in order to live fully. But how do we get freed from our Egypt? Who do we need? We need a Moses, right? We need a Moses. He's got to take us out of Egypt. And in Kabbalah, Moses is compared to Da'at.
To what?
To Da'at. To that last step in the intellectual. We have Chachma, Bina, and Da'at. Da'at means knowledge. Moses is compared to that knowledge, to that Da'at. And if you go to page 123, and again, I apologize for skipping back and forth today. Well, actually, we're not. I'm skipping back, but you're not. If you go to page 123, figure 7.2, there is a very interesting concept in Hebrew. It's called hisbonenus, which means contemplation, or another way for contemplation is meditation, but not the kind of meditation where you empty your mind, the kind of meditation where you focus your mind. Because a lot of times we think of meditation as just like emptying our mind and floating off on a cloud. This is not what it means. It means being able to focus on something. And what do? First, we look at Chachma. So Chachma is that flash, right? That flash that we discussed earlier, but that flash is very rough and raw. And so let's say, for example, we have a flash. We want to make a party. We had an idea, party, great idea. That was our flash. Then we get to Bina. Bina expands in it. What day am I going to make the party? What's my theme? What am I going to serve? You fill in the blanks, right? And then Da'at makes it personal. That's when I take the ideas and I'm able to tangibly actually make my party happen. And it brings it into a reality. And so many times we need to make something personal to make it our own. For example, I can tell my kids, do not touch the hot stove. All day, every day, do not touch the hot stove. And then one day that kid goes and by mistake touches the hot stove. And guess what? It moved from here to here real quick. Because now they know, ouch, that actually really does hurt. And so I will make sure I do not do that again. And that is how we make it personal. Sometimes it does hurt how we have to make it personal. And sometimes it doesn't. But that is a way to make it personal. You ever met a doctor who smokes?
Oh, yes.
All right. Like, seriously, you're a doctor. You know what it does to your lungs. How do you smoke? Like, you have had all this education. One thing, someone who's uneducated, but you're a doctor. How do you smoke? Because it has not become personal to him or her yet. Okay. And so we have so much information at our fingertips. I say, like today with TikTok and with Instagram, you're literally just scrolling through and you're hearing this is good for you, this is bad for you, do this, do that. Like, it's like bombarding us all the time. But how do I take something from here to here? I have to make it personal. And so how do I cultivate dots? Through this concept called hisbonenus. So what do? Step number one is called absorption. I have to really focus on it. I have to try to experience it, and I have to notice all the parts. Step number two is I have to make it personal. How does this connect to me? What do I think about this? How do I see myself in relationship to it? How does it benefit me? Step number three is length. I need to really invest time and immersion and marinate in this idea. And step number four is I have to make it regular. I'm going fast because you have it in here. I need to practice it often. There's no one and done. And this can all be part of the habit stacking as we discussed earlier. But if there's something that's really, really important to us, that is the steps to do it. And let's try it out. Everyone can think of something they want to work on and kind of fill it into this chart here and see how you can add. And sometimes I have to give myself a pep talk. There's actually a really great story about a professor. And the professor was a professor in a university. And he also was someone who he had a lab and he developed lots of things. And the professor, his pet peeve was grading papers. He could not stand grading papers. He thought it was boring. There was no point to it and everything. And of course, part of your job as a professor is grading papers. And so every time he would have a stack of papers to grade, what would he do? he would tell himself, I have to grade these papers. In order to grade these, the reason I have to grade these papers is because I have students. Students pay a lot of money to go to university. And when the university gets this money, they can use that money to fund my research. And he would use his logic to pep himself up about why he has to grade papers. And so sometimes we have to make that circular, what's the word? Circular story with ourselves and how to do that.
Yeah, I got another spunk.
So let's go to text number 10, which is on page 128. It's in the appendix, actually, of today's class. And I think everyone can resonate with 128. So the fourth Chabad Rebbe wrote, at times, although one has engaged in mental preparation, the intellect has yet to illuminate the heart and give birth to emotion. In such an instance, song can be employed to achieve one's goal, as the sage states. The sound of one's own raised voice enhances one's capacity for concentration. It is plainly evident that when singing while praying, the heart is aroused to a greater degree than through silent meditation, as explained elsewhere. This is because the sound of one's voice enhances concentration and allows the ideas of the mind to manifest in the heart. So we all know that music has a very powerful effect on us. We love when we come to shul. There's songs that we sing. If you're ever around, I said for me, like sometimes if I can't make it to shul on Yom Kippur night, if I have kids who have to go to bed on time, so I'll pray by myself. And I grew up, the Yom Kippur night has the most beautiful songs. It's like it really, and when you sing them, it really does stir your emotions and it makes you able to feel things much more than just silently meditating or just saying the words. And so that is one very beautiful way to play what's called a nigun, which is finding beautiful like song. It doesn't even have to have words, but something that really connects with you to help you on this mission as you do it. And so I want to kind of end the class a little bit. First of all, we had the butterfly cleanse, and the reason I was saying that is for two reasons. Number one, we know a little, they always use the analogy of a butterfly can flap and swing in one place and you have like a tsunami in another. You ever heard that? Yeah. So little things can affect very big changes. In fact, that is how we're supposed to do change. If you do giant change, chances are it's not going to stick. It's just not, because we're human beings and we need baby steps to be able to do such a thing. And also there's a great story about children who would walk home from school every day through the park, and they would see an elderly gentleman who would sit on the bench, and he was a very wise gentleman. And so the kids would ask him all sorts of questions and he would answer them, and it was like their daily shtick that they would do. And so the kids really wanted to trick him because he was really, really smart. And so they basically came one day and they took a butterfly and they put it into the palms of one of the kids' hands. And they went to the man and they said, is this butterfly alive or dead? And whatever he would say, if he said it was dead, if he said it was alive, they would squeeze it to death. And if he said it was dead, they would leave it alive, so they would prove him wrong or whatever. And what did he say? He said, the power is in your hands. Very wisely answered that. And it's a very important lesson for us. And I think all of us, and me included, it's a very, sometimes not easy lesson, but it is a very important lesson to have with us throughout our lives. The power is in your hands. So whoever didn't get a butterfly plan, please take that. And I'm also going to pass these around. This is like, you can hang it on your fridge or just have it with you, and I will upload it onto the group for those who didn't make it in person. Here is just a quick recap of the classes that the course that we did all year. Just a little lesson. Yeah, please take us. Yeah. Leslie, Michelle's taking one for you. And Lynn, if you'd like one as well. I printed a bunch, so please help yourselves.
Thank you.
So that's that. And then I also have a video that I will show, and I will actually, it's coming around. Give it a minute. Oh, here, take mine. So that is the physical paper of review that you have. And then I will also be uploading soon onto the WhatsApp group, a video recap of this course so that you can have that as well to look back for yourself. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me stop the recording.